Hello and welcome back to Learning with the Word Nerd. Today we're going to talk about something that I teach at the very beginning of every school year, something that lays the foundation for everything else that we are going to do in a reading and English language arts class for the rest of the year, and that thing is story elements. So story elements are the basic foundational principles that you find in every piece of fiction. And by talking about them, we're helping students to understand what goes into making a story. When I go to schools and do author visits, I often talk to students about how writing a story is like putting together a puzzle. And in order to do that, you need to have all of the right pieces and you need to put them all in the right place so that you can see the big picture. So what are those parts? I like to think that there are 7 parts. I like to think that there are 7 parts to telling a story: character, conflict, climax, setting, point of view, theme, and resolution. And if we can put together all of these pieces together, we can tell a really great story. Now, it might be difficult to remember all of these pieces. There's kind of a lot of C words. 7 is a long list of things to remember. So I like to teach students this acronym. C3, story parts to remember. If we can remember that phrase, then it will lead us to each of the 7 story elements. So C3 stands for character, conflict, climax. Story parts to remember then means setting, point of view, theme, and resolution. So C3, story parts to remember, equals character, conflict, climax, setting, point of view, theme, and resolution. In a PowerPoint that I have for sale on Teachers Pay Teachers, I walk you through all of these different story elements and also their definitions and some examples. And then down at the very end, I also have some practice slides that students can print out and do like as a matching activity. So that's usually how I introduce it. I tell them what they are, and then also their definitions, and one really easy way to remember it. Another fun way you can do story elements is to think of it like you're making some food. So when you go to the grocery store and you want to make a meal, you assemble all of the right ingredients. So let's say we were going to make a pizza. We would pretend that each of the story elements was a part. So maybe the characters or the setting is the crust. And then we say that the theme is the pizza sauce that spreads all around and it touches everything. And then we're going to add the pepperonis, and that's the characters. And we're going to add the sausage, and that's the conflict. And then we're going to sprinkle the cheese all over, and that's the point of view. You can make anything. You could make salad. You could make lasagna. You can pick your students' favorite food, you know, a hamburger and all the different ingredients. And then label that each part is that story element. You could even make a recipe card and put the story elements on there and then send the recipe card home with your students and ask them to make that meal together as a family and prompt the parents that as they're making the meal, you know, they can be talking about the story elements too. And it's another great hands-on way for the students to remember those different ingredients or things that they need to tell a complete story. I also use story elements in the foundation of my Story Seedlings independent PACE program. So Story Seedlings is a 6-week program full of prompts that help a person take their story idea from their head and put it down on paper. And each of the story elements is a little seed that then we grow through some resources and some writing prompts. So there really is no end to the creative ways that you can teach your students about story elements, but once they know about these different parts, they can start to focus on them while they're reading and see how they influence the whole story. They can start to pay attention to them while they're reading so that then they can then use those parts to write their own story. And it's just a really important foundational skill that I think you should spend a little time on in the beginning of the school year. I'm going to put links to all of these things that I mentioned in the description of this video, but if you have any questions on them or you want further resources about reading or writing instruction for middle graders, please reach out and message me. I'd love to help you in any way that I can. All right, I hope you all have an awesome school day, and tune back in again next time to Learning with the Word Nerd.